second edition there.
The book?
All right. So Ian, it is 5. We are going to get going.
Okay.
We have all commissioners and maybe a chance to get out of here not super late. So welcome everybody to September 23rd's Nantucket Conservation Commission meeting. This meeting is being held remotely, so all participants are meeting via Zoom. If you are a member of the public watching on YouTube, you can comment. Please just make sure to put in your full name under the comments. Just a reminder to everybody on the call, please mute yourself when you are not speaking. Also be careful not to screen share, as anything that you might screen share will probably be captured by the recording. With that, we will go to public comment on items not being heard this evening. I'm not sure that we have anybody commenting at this point. So I will go ahead and read through our continuances, and if somebody from the public comments before we start, then I'll let them comment. So the following items this evening are continued under notices of intent. We have NISDA at 55 Walwinet Road, continued until October 28th. We have Warren's Landing Nominee Trust at 40 Warren's Landing Road, continued until October 7th. I believe that is it for our continuances. Still appears that there's no public comment, so we will begin this evening's meeting under notices of intent. We have AC Wales End 2 LLC at 43 and 45 Squam Road, represented by Brian Madden.
Thank you very much. We were last before you on August 12th, and I believe one of the requests was made, and as part of the original application, the footing to the office gym building was within the 2 feet to high groundwater. We subsequently have modified that footing foundation to meet that 2-foot separation, and we got the final natural heritage letter this afternoon for the no adverse effect and no take under MISA, a conditional no take for protection plan for Northern Harrier for work activities. And so at this point, the only waiver required or requested is for the abandonment of a portion of the existing driveway within the 25-foot buffer zone that we're proposing to revegetate and reroute it to maximize the wetland setbacks. So with that, I'll turn it over to questions.
Great, thank you, Brian. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. I can give the public a check and see if we have questions from the public. Jeff?
I think we may have some public comment from people that are participating on the Zoom on this one.
So do we have members of the public on the Zoom call who would like to speak? Don't.
I guess not. I know RJ had commented before, and we had someone else request to be on. So,
Okay. Jeff, do we have everything we would need to close this one?
we now have all of the required information. Yes.
Okay. Brian, would you like to close?
Please.
Is there a motion to close? Motion made by Dave. Is there a second? Seconded by Linda. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Arisman, aye. Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you.
And that moves us on to Anshiline Properties LLC at 19 East Creek Road, represented by Paul Santos.
Thank you. On behalf of the applicant, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors. This is the second hearing on this particular property. Property is located at 19 East Creek Road, building I think that by now all the commissioners are familiar with. The application before you is a notice of intent. In the original submittal, the scope of work was defined for proposed additions to a single-family dwelling, addition of a pergola, installation of a patio with associated site work, grading and landscaping, and native buffer plantings, and a retaining wall replacement within land subject to coastal storm flowage, and the buffers to a salt marsh and a policy coastal bank. The plan you have before you is a updated plan based on our initial hearing. Again, I'd just like to walk through this plan right to left, if you will, and discuss what the starting at the easterly property line or easterly side of the building. We are removing a set of stairs that went from the upper deck to the westerly side of the yard. That set of stairs and the associated landings, approximately 24 square feet of structure removal. Along the south side of the existing building, which is the line that is abutting town of Nantucket property or our island home, we are proposing a small 2-foot by 15-foot addition off the back L of that house. That was proposed originally, and it's still within the scope of what we're asking for tonight. There was a area of approximately 35 square feet in this same area in which we were proposing an addition to relocate the mechanicals for the existing structure. Currently, the existing mechanicals are all in the flood zone located within the existing garage location. They've been able to rework the interior of the building, get the mechanicals elevated on either the first or second floor out of the flood zone, and that addition in the back, which was approximately 35 square feet, has been removed from the request. Working our way over to the driveway side of the existing structure, we're removing an additional 9 square feet of at-grade decking, which is located at the entry door to the existing garage. We are removing an existing concrete apron, I believe it is, which is the entryway into the existing garage. Within that area, we're removing approximately 1,200 square feet of existing shell driveway. And we are within that area, within an area that is existing shell driveway now, proposed bluestone at-grade patio along with the pergola along the side of the dwelling that currently houses the existing garage. That garage would be eliminated from the existing structure. The area in which we've removed the driveway, we are then planting with native plantings, specifically bayberry, Virginia rose, little blue stem, and viburnum. That total area is would be 975 square feet of area that would be reclaimed driveway and areas that would be vegetated. Some of that area is currently not driveway, but it is an area that would be replaced with the native plantings. So when we look at the structure component of it, we're removing the 24 square feet, the 9 square feet, and then asking essentially to add that square footage along the backside of the building to accommodate that addition. The building itself will stay essentially in place. It is compliant with the current flood zone regulations with regard to its current elevation. There would be, as we had discussed previously, modifications to the building that entail along the creek side of the property, a reduction in approximately 13.7 square feet of open window or glass area. In addition, currently the glass that is out there is basically undivided. So in addition to the reduction in the general location of the glass, there'd also be then further dividing the glass into set panels as opposed to what is out there currently. The ridge line of the building does not change. There is an addition or elevation of the area where the current garage exists, but the ridge line and the roof line of the existing structure will not change. Waivers are necessary for the application. As many of you know, for the most part, this site is completely located within jurisdictional areas, both the 25-foot no disturb and the 50-foot no build, as the structure was constructed at a time when those regulations were not in effect. That is essentially the extent of the application. So with regard to our original proposal, like I said, we did reduce some of the addition space. We provided some more information with regard to the mitigation areas, the plantings, and the particular areas that we're proposing to do the work. Happy to answer any questions that you may have with regard to the current proposal.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm still a little bit concerned about the pergola being proposed. I feel like that's adding structure that's currently, open and not elevated. And I don't really see that as being necessary for the uses identified as part of this application. So I would like to see if there's any possibility of changing that design. And then also regarding the native plantings, very happy to see such a large area, but considering the saltiness of that site and the fact that you're right up against the creeks, perhaps choosing a few more salt marsh type species would be good. I've been down to the site before. There is some bayberry. There's a lot of like groundsel and cattail and things like that. So maybe just refining the scope of that planting.
Thank you, Seth. I have to agree with you on the pergola and the salt tolerance. So thank you for bringing that up. Any other comments or questions from commissioners? Mark?
Through the chair, Paul, specifically, what work will you be doing in the 25-foot zone in addition to the proposed pergola? I'm not clear from the two diagrams we have, what work will be done in the 25-foot zone?
New work, Mark, would be just the, excuse me, would be the patio area in the pergola, the removal of the driveway. The 25 kind of slices through the center of the building, if you will. If you're looking, that line that goes through the center of the building and kind of curves off, that's the 25-foot setback. So the proposed addition is outside, in the back is outside the 25. It's within the 50. And then the pergola and the patio essentially would be, anything other than that would be the reclamation area. The removal of the driveway and the replanting is also in the 25.
Follow up, Madam Chair?
Yep, go ahead, Mark.
I guess, Paul, I'm continuing to be troubled by pretty extensive construction in the 25-foot zone. And I'm not sure I see the rationale for the waiver. Can you help me on that?
Well, sure. I mean, we can't get around the fact that the building is there right now. That's how it's used. It's a single family residence. It's built where it is. For the most part, the entire, the building, the driveway is all within the 25, in the 50 as we speak. that at the end of the day, that doesn't change. It's still going to be used in the manner it has been used, and it's been used in the past. What we're trying to do is, at least within the area where the driveway is, try to reclaim some of that area. At the end of the day, Mark, the use is going to be no different than what it is right now. I mean, with regard to the pergola, and I know Ashley and Seth have questioning that. Again, it's an open structure. Basically, it's connected to the side of the building. There'd be 2 additional posts, and quite honestly, it's occurring within an area that, you know, we'd be proposing. We're removing driveway and doing the proposed patio, the Bluestone patio.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul. Linda?
So just to clarify, the work that you're doing is within the envelope of the structure, so it's not intruding any further. Number one. Number two, you are removing something like the driveway extension in favor of the pergola. Is that pretty much it in a nutshell?
Well, no, not the pergola is proposed where the driveway is, so there is no structure there. The building itself, the footprint of the building, the internal work in the scope of with the ridge line, that occurs within the structure. But we are adding, the pergola is not contained within what is now structure.
Right, yeah, I knew that, but we're remastering the driveway and adding a pergola. So that's pretty much where we are, because everything else you're doing to the structure is within the structure itself, the envelope of the structure.
No, there's a 30-foot square foot back L
Yeah.
island home. So
That answer your question, Linda?
No further into the wetland area than it already is.
well, correct. It's all
Okay.
correct.
And you're not clearing out anything else. It's already disturbed land, correct?
Correct. There's no clearing.
Okay.
It's already all open, or it's all developed.
Disturbed. Okay.
And Linda, I just want to make sure you realize that your camera's not pointed at you or getting your forehead.
I know that.
Okay.
This, you know, I don't like my picture on camera, and I've never done it in 2 years, but I will give you the hand. You got my hand.
Okay. So Maureen, I saw your hand up, and then Seth.
Okay, I think the point that Seth and with respect, and Ashley through the chair, Paul, is that we're not so much, our concern is that you're turning Shell driveway into a Bluestone patio and and there's Bluestone patio, if you will, under the pergola, and then it's the usual kind of open frame pergola that would have vines growing on it, that kind of thing. But the Bluestone patio is a new material in lieu of a Shell driveway. Will not have Bluestone patio in that area within the 25. Is that right?
Well, I think the concern is more, Maureen, is more the pergola than the Bluestone, but that's the area of concern. I think that Seth and Ashley have, but I think it was specific to the pergola itself.
Right. No, but I wanted to be clear whether the Bluestone patio extended under the pergola or not. And I assume it does. That's what I was asking.
Oh, it does. Yes, Maureen, it does.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
So it is, I know there's the pergola as additional structure, if you will, and then it's changing what used to be, well, it's probably an old Shell driveway, so I don't know how much was able to, anything to percolate through it. But that patio, yeah, I guess I share the same concern because yes, I mean, obviously, I mean, lucky for them, they've built this long enough ago that they still have this wonderful place, but really adding anything, I think, is not something that I would want to go along with either. So I would have the same concern about the pergola. Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you, Maureen. Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. And I will clarify, my concern is related to the wooden pergola structure itself, not to the patio. I mean, Bluestone patio is potentially a little bit less permeable than the shell driveway, but not gonna make a huge impact here. It's more of adding structure here, which aesthetically looks nice and is gonna have a nice residential use to it. Probably will be furniture and there's a grill and patio associated, but I don't see how that use is justified within our regulations, considering right now it's just an open driveway. So if there's I know this site's highly constrained, there's not anywhere else to put that, but there's already a expansive deck and there's a large, I'm fine with the patio. There's a large area to congregate if you may, but I just don't see the need for this use at that site. I'm also concerned about the construction protocol for the proposed addition on the backside of the dwelling. Paul, if you may, could you talk a little bit about that? Is it just going to be people carrying the equipment and tools in there by hand, or you're going to need to get any type of machinery in there? I know that could be an issue. It's a small area, so just hearing more about that would be good.
Okay. The building it's not a concrete foundation, Seth. So from that aspect, this is elevated on piers. So I would assume that the work could be done back there by hand. But I suspect I'm going to ask, and hopefully maybe one more meeting. I think I'm going to ask to continue. And I'm happy to provide a protocol for that back area. And then address the issue of the planting the species. And then, I think focus on the architect and the client with regard to the pergola. So we can maybe, at least with one more meeting, maybe bring this to a close. But the protocol step is not as far as the foundation work typically is what's going to require excavation, concrete trucks, things like that. This is all elevated on a pier, and we're actually only projecting out 2 feet on that back side of that building. So.
Thank you, Paul. I know I would definitely appreciate a construction protocol because of how constrained the site is. I don't even know how you get, I guess you'd bring a dump truck in because you can't really put a dumpster down there given the buffer zones. And from what I remember of that site, the bank vegetation goes pretty close to the back of that house. So I'm assuming you would maybe need to be cutting into that in order to do some of the addition. So it would definitely be good to clarify.
Yeah. Now there is a path to walk. You can walk around and walk along that backside. Ashley, I mean, like I said, we're coming out 2 feet off the backside. It's not projecting out too far. And there is somewhat of a path that works around the backside of that at the toe of the slope there, on the toe of that slope, but okay.
Yeah. Dave, I saw your hand up.
Yes, thank you. Through you, Madam Chair. I'd just like to weigh in. I share the same concerns as my fellow commissioners about the pergola, new construction in the 25. And as a question to you, Paul, so I know it's only 2 feet, but it is on a pier foundation. So I wasn't sure if you're going to be, some more information would help a lot, because I don't know if you're going to cantilever it or you're going to put it, support that on a Helix pier, or I just, I can't see how, I can't get my head wrapped around how you're going to do that. And I would like some clarification. That's it.
Okay.
Thank you, Dave. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no, so we'll open it up to the public. RJ?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
So RJ Turcotte on behalf of the Nantucket Land Council. We agree with commissioners' concerns, and we would just urge the commission to stay black and white on the no build zone within 50 feet of the resource area. There are a lot of structures that are grandfathered in and predate the regulations, but even the 30 square foot addition and the pergola should remain firm on, and just keep that as a well-defined line for future applicants so that we don't have any creep. Thank you.
Thank you, RJ. I'm not sure if we have comment on YouTube. It looks like we do not have comment on YouTube at this point. So if there are no further commissioners' comments, it sounds like, Paul, you would like to continue?
Yes, till the 7th, please.
Okay, so this will continue until our October 7th meeting.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And that moves us on to Moore's Realty Trust at 14 Tatimo Way, represented by Brian Madden.
Thank you very much. For the record, Brian Madden from LEC Environmental. Since the last meeting, we received the natural heritage determination letter confirming a no adverse effect, no take under MISA. And we had also continued to all visit the site on Monday. And I guess at this stage, I'll just open up to questions if there are any.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. After having a chance to visit the site, it was very helpful. A few things came to my mind. First, it was easy to observe that there was a variety of like debris and cobble associated with that retaining wall. So I would like to see that removed from the area moving forward. I think given the relative small impact compared to the neighboring property bulkhead, I'm okay with having that retaining wall stay in place, but I'd like to see a few things happen as mitigation for that wall. The first is, as has been offered, to remove the patio out of the 25-foot buffer. And then the second thing is I observed sort of a small but noticeable gap between where the wall is and where the existing vegetation is. There's a very good bank of there's a very good area of native vegetation, but there's a small area of sandy, I guess, material in between where that vegetation starts and that wall. So I would request that some planting put in, like grasses or forbs, something like that, to just help speed that process of native vegetation along. And then the last thing that I found a little bit odd at the site is, I guess it's because how the wall was constructed. It seems to be a bunch of pieces that don't really match together right. I think it's beneficial for our interests and for the client to just get those squared up so they match better. And it's more of like a uniform feature that's not gonna act in weird ways if water's getting through cracks and things like that. So just, I am concerned that the wall was placed without benefit of a permit, but I think that it's not necessarily doing a lot of impact or harm as long as those things get kind of cleared up and normalized on the site.
Thank you, Seth. Any other commissioners' comments or questions? I know, Seth, I appreciate you bringing up some mitigation with vegetation there, because I think that would be beneficial to, again, our resources and the property owner. Brian, do you think that's something that they would be amenable to?
Yeah, I think all those requests and conditions are certainly reasonable. Just relative to the squaring up of some of those corners where there's maybe a gap or something, I think I'll I'll relate to the applicant to do the best they can, but without like causing more disturbance or a lot more activity down there. But I understand and respect it. And thank Seth for his comments.
Ian?
Thank you, Madam Chair. So I appreciate Seth's position. And so I think the only, I guess, the point that he makes that I don't entirely agree with is removing the patio. I mean, that house has been there forever. It's clearly, long before our regulations. And I think, the owner was clearly, penitent is the wrong word, but, I'm sure it won't happen again. And so I think it was an honest oversight rather than any deliberate behavior. So I personally am happy for the patio to stay there. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Brian?
Just to comment on that. Yeah, I mean, the way that patio is laid out, it's not, sitting in stone. I think it's just sitting on the dirt. And those fieldstone slabs are basically just steps kind of laid in together. So, I mean, it's right in the walkway getting down to the water. If the commission's okay with it, we prefer to keep them in place. I think right now they're not causing a harm to the resource areas.
Thank you, Brian. Linda?
I agree with Ian. For the sake of argument, it has been there for a very long time. It was not one of the newer houses built out there. So most of it's just the status quo, and I'd hate to start ripping stuff up now.
Thank you, Linda. Dave?
Just so I'm clear, I apologize. I missed the viewing Monday, but the question is that little red landing at the bottom of the steps. Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah. Yes, I believe so. It's like right at the end of their porch. There's a little square patio.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. I'll open it up to public comment. Looks like we also do not have public comment. RJ?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just a question through you to the commission, whether you consider this a part of a catadromous and anadromous fish run, considering that as a resource area as well on this pond. And I'm not sure, question to, I guess, Brian, when the work will be conducted, but there do tend to be some restrictions on work in the springtime along fish runs. So that is our only comment. Thank you.
Thank you, RJ. Most of this work has kind of already been done, so they'd just be shoring it up and maybe doing some plantings. But that's a good question for you, Brian, when you think they would be finishing this project?
Yeah, so for the plantings, there could be an effort made this fall to get it done, if not springtime. But certainly we'd be, with the access down on the exposed shoreline beach area, certainly we wouldn't be wanting to do any in-water work, and this would all be done by hand. So no, machinery down there. So it would be done very sensitively.
Thank you, Brian. And I'm not sure, commissioners, if we've considered the pond as being a fish run. I mean, obviously it is, but Seth, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I think that it's a difficult thing to quantify here because anadromous fish, herring, are certainly coming into that pond, but only because it's being opened by anthropogenic mechanical methods. Like Long Pond is connected to the ocean on a daily tidal cycle. There's a fish run there. Hummock Pond, Sacajah Pond, there's influence of fish coming in. But if you stopped opening or cutting those to the ocean, it's becomes cut off. So I guess it's a theoretical issue about maintenance of pond openings rather than anything else. But if it's opened in the spring before this project started work, and then they started work at that time, it's a fish run, but the rest of the year it's probably not a fish run.
Yeah, so I guess maybe we could condition this to be not occurring while the pond is open or has been recently opened. All right. Okay, so I don't think we have any other public comment. Jeff, do we have everything we would need to close this one? Okay, Brian, would you, oh, Ian?
Oh, I jumped the gun. I was going to move to close. I beg your pardon, Brian.
No worries. Please closed. Thank you.
So
Very well.
Ian, you're making the motion to close.
I am, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Seconded by Maureen. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Erisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you all.
And that moves us on to Gilbert at 16 D Street, represented by Don Bracken.
Well, thank you, everyone. Don Bracken, Bracken Engineering. Also with me tonight is Cheryl and Joseph Gilbert, the owners of the property. At the last meeting, there were a lot of issues raised by the commission. That would be helpful to have the owners here to directly answer any questions or offer any modifications that the commission may suggest. Hopefully you all had a chance to go out there and look at the site. First off, the first issue that was raised was the location of the outdoor shower and the proposed AC units. Talked to the owner and the builder, and what we'd like to do is we can move the AC units completely outside of the 50-foot buffer and put them behind that existing front cottage, and we can stack them there. So those would be removed. The shower would stay where we're proposing it. But if you recall, that's all occupied. That area was all occupied by structures. So there'll be a net decrease in structures in that area once we relocate those AC units. Another question that came up at the last meeting was the foundation system in the back, where we're proposing to remove the existing open deck and reconstruct the deck and construct a covered porch over that deck. The structural plans aren't done yet, but the builder has told me that this would need a sonotube type foundation system. There would be 3 or 4 sonotubes installed at the ocean side of the deck to support the new porch. And with that, I'd like to see if the commission has any other further thoughts or comments after the site walk.
Thank you, Don.
Mm-hmm.
So I believe 5 of us went to visit this site, so most of us were there. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners about what you saw at the site visit or the application? Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. To Don, when you say that there will need to be sonotubes added for the new porch, that would be within the 25-foot buffer, that area where the sonotubes are added?
Yeah, it would be, yes, just inside the 25-foot buffer. If you go back to the plan, that 25-foot buffer is about 1.5 feet or so, or 2 feet into where the existing deck is right now.
Thank you, Don. I know that deck looked like it was kind of like rigged up there, even as it was. There were like two boards that were holding it up. So it does seem like there would be a fair amount of construction needed to secure that.
Well, that existing deck, like I said, is going to be completely removed. So it's going to be a completely new deck system. And the sonotubes would be required, to support the covered porch that's proposed.
Seth?
Is it possible to reduce the area of the deck by 1 or 2 feet length so that those sonotubes could be put outside of the 25-foot buffer?
It is possible to perhaps cantilever some of it. I think that's more of a structural question that we could try to have addressed, for the next meeting. If we could cantilever it, then we could probably provide a detail on how to do that. I don't know myself. I know cantilevering is discouraged now under the building code for a lot of projects, but we certainly could investigate cantilevering it, a portion of it.
Thank you, Don. I think that would be good information for us to have. Ian?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I agree with Seth that if it can't be cantilevered, then it should be reduced by a couple of feet on, so to keep it outside of the 25. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. We'll check to the public and see if there's any public comment on this one.
There's none on YouTube, Madam Chair.
Thank you. So, Don, without public comment, would you like to continue to see if you can get more information for us?
Yes.
Okay. Would you like you for 2 weeks, which is October 7th?
That sounds good. I'll be here anyway, so. All right.
Okay. Perfect. Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
That moves us on to RJG Nominee Trust at 13 Crow's Nest Way, represented by Brian Madden.
Thank you very much. Brian Madden from LEC, representing the applicants. The proposed project involves a septic upgrade. The existing conventional system is within the coastal dune. This property, I think some of you are familiar with this, is very low lying within the western portion of the site. Abutting the driveway to the north and south, there are 2 vegetated wetlands. There's an isolated vegetated wetland on the north side, and then a bordering vegetated wetland system that's connected to BVW on the west side of Crow's Nest Way via pipes under the roadway. And so that's very low lying, high groundwater situation going on there. And then it rises up to where the house sits within a coastal dune area and the existing systems in the coastal dune. The proposed septic upgrade involves an IA system for better treatment. And there's no proposed change in dune form or volume. It'll all be restored in kind, and the area will be revegetated with American beach grass. The existing system will be removed per Title V requirements. And a small portion of the existing system is within just encroaches into the natural heritage mapped area. So we are still within that 30-day window. So we'll need to continue. But if there's any questions for the time being, I can answer for the commission.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Apart from being a bit shocked about how this property was ever developed in the first place, given that structure actually was built after the Wetlands Protection Act was already in place, I'm just wondering if there's any possibility to consider an alternate location for the new soil absorption system instead of being in the same place as the old septic. Is there any place to bring it, I guess, out and put it under where the gravel driveway is, or is it too constrained over there?
Don Bracken, the designer. It's because of the groundwater elevation. In order to keep the groundwater separation to the bottom of the system, it has to be up at that higher elevation. And the driveway grade is only at about elevation 10, and where the system is going is about elevation 15. So, you know, if we were to put it down in that area, it would have to be mounded with retaining walls around it. And the existing field is actually closer to the ocean than this one. I don't know if you can, the outline of it. So I think this is probably the only place we had to really put it to meet all the requirements. And we do have a Board of Health permit for the system already. They've reviewed it and approved it.
Thank you, Don, and thank you, Seth, for your question.
And also the well is down by the driveway as well. Sorry, I should have mentioned that as well.
Yeah, the new system has been designed to maximize that setback from the vegetated wetland. At a minimum, it's 50 feet. So we wanted to maximize that as much as possible. But, you know, this is primarily, as Don said, groundwater driven.
Thank you. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? We'll take a quick look to the public. Looks like no comments. So Brian, you'd like to wait 2 weeks for Heritage?
Yes, please.
Okay, so this will continue until October 7th.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And that moves us on to amended orders of conditions. We have Sweet Meadow, Sylvia Lane at 74 Westchester Street, represented by Paul Santos.
Thank you. For the record, Paul Santos. These are coming fast and furious tonight. And apparently they all seem to be sites that have a little bit of a history. Thank you. This is second hearing for 74 Westchester Street. The application was for the reallocation of some internal work, which was some existing stone patios. There was a previously approved fire pit, previously approved walls and so forth that were being reallocated inside or in between the two buildings. And then there was two components with regard to work on the existing structure, the northerly structure or the structure closest to Westchester Street. The first component was the elimination of an existing garage and conversion of that internal space to living area. And the second was the permanent enclosure of a currently screened-in porch that exists within a roofed section of the existing porch on the south side of that house. There were some additional structural elements that were proposed as part of the building, the internal building work. That involved an overhang at the new entryway to the area where the garage was going to be removed. And then there was a wraparound structural step that had been added in the back area by the screen porch, where currently there is a single step that comes off of the porch outside of the screened area and comes out into the back patio area. We did have a site visit with some of the members on Monday. They did have a chance to look at the proposal. The owner was there at the time. I would say with regard to the new building elements within the regulated areas, those have been agreed to be removed. That would be that new entryway Seth had specifically called that out on his last review at last meeting, which was shown as the new entryway at the area going into the garage. And then the larger area was the expansive or the wraparound or the extended step and landing coming out of what is now the screen porch, but would be coming out of the enclosure along the backside. Those can be removed from the application. So the building component itself would be strictly occurring within areas that are already contain structure. I'm happy to answer any questions that you might have with regard to the application. This is an amended order of conditions request. And there is currently an open order, obviously for the work that was just recently completed, of the work that's been going on the site. And happy to answer any questions that you may have with regard to the application.
Thank you, Paul. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Ian.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So for me, this was a good example of how actually going out on a site visit changed my perspective. So I know I voice reservations, and after the site visit, I no longer have reservations. Thank you.
Thank you, Ian. Linda?
I agree with Ian. I'm well familiar with the site from HTC's standpoint, and I agree with Ian. This is approvable as far as I'm concerned.
Thank you. So Linda, did you go to do a site visit recently, or you just know it from HTC?
I know it from HTC quite well.
Okay. Just think that's important to clarify. Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Paul, the landscape walls that are proposed, that's part of the amendment. That wasn't part of the original order of conditions. Is that correct?
There was a wall shown around that fire pit proposed location. So there was a wall shown there previously, but not in the location that they actually constructed it, Seth. Those two. If you look at if the plan is up, I don't know if Jeff has the plan up there.
1 second and I'll put it up.
Okay. If you'll come in there, Seth, you'll see there is actually, it was proposed to be two disconnected patio areas. And then to see the circular area, there's a circular area which shows some chairs, shows a fire pit. And then there was a retaining wall, shown in that particular area on the plan at that point too. So, but to answer your question, Seth, it was not shown where they actually have been constructed. And they're low. It's not actually, I shouldn't say retaining wall. It's basically a landscape wall, which is acting as a buffer between kind of the developed or the livable area of the site as you merge out to the area that became the little blue stem.
Thank you for clarifying. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? I know I do have to agree, going out and seeing the screen porch was helpful in justifying being able to close it in. So we'll see if there are any public comment on this one. Looks like no. So Jeff, do we have everything we would need to issue the amended order?
Yes, you do.
Okay. Paul, I'm assuming you would like us to try and issue tonight?
Yes, please.
Okay. Is there a motion?
So moved.
So motion made by Linda. Looks like seconded. Are you making a motion? You're muted.
I believe a face and a hand trumps ceiling.
I got a hand. I got the hand.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it to her with the hand, although Linda, I think we would love if you would reconsider, because nobody is really comfortable being on camera and it's just kind of part of the job a little bit. So maybe you would reconsider, but I'm gonna give the motion to Linda and Ian the second. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Erisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. And that moves us on to Scannell at 119R Eel Point Road, also represented by Paul Santos.
And Madam Chair, I'm recused.
Thank you, Seth. Paul, you're muted.
Okay, we'll start over. Thank you. On behalf of the applicant, Paul Santos with Nantucket Surveyors. This is an amended order of conditions request that involved two components of a previously approved notice of intent. From the body of the original text that was filed within this request, the applicant is seeking permission for the removal of a set of aluminum beach stairs, construction of a wooden beach stairs, removal of brush and placement with lawn, relocation of the pool house, and installation of a fire pit and stone patio with associated grading, landscaping within the buffer zone to a coastal bank. We did have a few members that went out to do a site visit on this one also. Again, I think that was helpful, but I think the majority of the application or the discussions that we had last time focused around the beach stairs. If you remember, it was proposed to be a set of beach stairs with a fairly expansive deck, if you will, off of the travel path of the beach stairs. Obviously, I think the feedback from the commission at the last meeting was that was something that would not be approvable. We are removing that component from the application. We still would like to have that first elevated stairway with a walkway to that lower set of stairs that goes down to the beach. We would be seeking, if we still could have a small platform area, approximately five feet outside of the 3-foot walkway, approximately 12 feet or so in length, to have an area where things could be stored up off of the beach, if you will, whether it be surfboards, chairs, lawn chairs, and so forth. Those could be stored in that particular area on the upper area of the stairway prior to going to traversing down to the lower level. I have to apologize, and Jeff, I don't know, I had sent you an email today. Ian, you had asked for a profile, and I had forgot about that, and I did submit something to Jeff today. I don't know if your site visit maybe answered some of the questions you may have had with regard to what you were looking for under that, but that is the profile there, and I apologize for not having it to you beforehand, but I think that kind of exemplifies, that's just looking at the site from both the east and the west. That shows that initial climb of a stairway that's presently actually there now, just buried in sand, the plateau across the top, and then the descent of the stairway, which would essentially, because of the code requirements, would have two small landing areas, stairway, landing, stairway, another landing, and then down to the beach. So that profile does depict what the proposed location would be. Happy to answer any questions that you may have. The plan that you see before you does not show that. It shows the expanded area that we're looking to modify. But as I said, we would still be at least looking to get some type of additional, either maybe a 5-foot or 10 to 12-foot landing within those, off of the 3-foot walkway between the two stairways, if the board would see fit to approve this concept. Happy to answer any questions that you may have with regard to the proposal.
Thank you, Paul. I saw Maureen's hand up and then Ian.
Through the chair, Paul, I'm still not clear. The big platform that, both at the site visit and last time you spoke, we all thought was far too much for that area. Is that where they're proposing? Is that going to be the storage place for the surfboards? Is that
no?
I'm confused about what is going where now because the plan doesn't show it.
Okay, that would go away, Maureen. What you would have is essentially picture the stairway up, the level boardwalk across, and then the stairway down. But
Yeah.
before that down, that area that was shown is that, I think that area before was approximately outside of the stairway, was approximately 7 feet wide by, I don't know, 20, 25 or 20, 25 feet long, I think it was. There'd still be a bump out in that general area, but it would only come an additional 5 feet out and about 10 or 12 feet in width, just to have some storage area there. And that would occur within that initial, that plateau or that flat area you have between the two stairways.
If I may, Madam Chair, do you mind if we put the plan back up and you can show us this? I'm still having trouble imagining it without actually seeing it in the picture.
Okay, so Maureen, the large bump out you have there, when you come up the stairway, you see that large bump out?
Yes.
That right now is approximately 7 feet wide by about 24 feet long. In that same area, you would only bump out about 5 feet, and it would be about anywhere from 10 to 12 feet long. I'm happy to provide I can show you what I'm talking about and provide it for the next meeting. I'd just like to get a sense too of where we are with the stairway, and I'm happy to actually, rather than try to do it this way, physically show you what I'm talking about and provide a plan up to the commission to review.
Madam Chair, yeah, Paul, I think that would be very helpful because I'm not sure the storage of beach equipment, I just think it would be very helpful to see exactly, take away the large platform, show what you want to have and where. Also, we had discussed the use of aluminum versus wood stairs, I think, on this. What is the plan now for where there are those very old aluminum stairs that are almost buried? Would that be new wooden stairs? Is that the plan, or would it be aluminum?
To do the elevated wooden stairs, only because, I mean, for those of you who did get to the site, you saw the amount of sand that collects in that particular area.
Yeah.
With regard to and it's a fairly large run for that set of, that's a pretty heavy set of aluminum stairs. It's not something that you could just physically pick up and move, by hand.
Mhm.
So the intent there would be is to build a completely stable wooden stairway.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification.
If it was a single piece of aluminum stair, Maureen, I think, in some cases it's practical, but when you start to get to the runs that we have here and the height to get down, the aluminum stairs, the size of them becomes a little bit cumbersome moving them in and out on a regular basis.
Again, thank you. I appreciate that. And it's helpful to have seen that site and where all that fresh sand is blowing in. Thank you. And I look forward to seeing a little drawing, a graphic description when you come back. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you. So Ian, we'll go to you.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. So I'm not very keen on any platform whatsoever. But Paul, refresh my memory. Can you see the platform from the beach? Would you? And I take it in the cross section. Thank you for the cross section.
Yeah.
The cross section has a handrail, while the steps going down doesn't. So I don't really see any reason for having a handrail on the level part that you call a platform.
Okay.
And I would like to see it as, notwithstanding the enormous house behind there, which is sort of hidden by the dunes. I'd like that access as unobtrusive as possible to people walking the beach. So I'm not very keen on having sort of storage up there, but I can't remember whether or not you could see it from the beach. So I guess I need to go back there and have another look.
Okay, I can maybe provide some pictures too, Ian. I'm happy to do that. And I hear you on the handrail. This hasn't been anywhere. Obviously, the intent here was to come to you before anybody goes to the HDC or anything like that. So I hear you on the handrail. Maureen, I see what you're talking about. And then we can maybe get some views from the beach component and see how this all lays out from there.
Thank you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
And if I think, so as of right now, I mean, I think I'm hearing Ian I think I know where Ian stands on the platform or the bump out, if I will. And if I could get any feedback from the other commissioners, that would be great, and give me a little direction before that next meeting.
Yeah, I know, Paul, I am not in favor of having storage up there. It's a unique geologic feature up there, I guess we could call it, because it's not technically a dune, but it, maybe could be one day. So I feel like we don't want to be impeding it anymore with big structure. And I, appreciate that the owners want to store their toys there, but they have, a pretty massive property right behind. You're clearing closer to the bank. So I feel like they could have their storage, in that cleared area. Mark?
Yes, Paul, I was part of that site visit, if you recall, on Monday, and I was just asking you, do you think the stairs going up to the storage area are necessary? The grade is not that great right there, if you recall, and I don't know if the owners don't want to get sand in their shoes, but they're going to the beach after all. So are the stairs going up necessary also?
Well, Mark, they've always been there. That component at least has always been part of it. I mean, it is a fairly deep sand layer there. I mean, again, the stairs that are there actually is already a set of stairs there, a wooden set that was permanent. So, I mean, I think it would keep everyone in that one location going up and down that, sand area. I mean, we're not going to call it a dune, but it is that windblown sand area.
Okay, thank you.
Thank
Yeah,
you,
and I agree with some fellow commissioners that there's plenty of real estate behind the non-dune to store toys that's outside the 50-foot zone. So I'm not sure we need a platform up on top there or a storage area on top. I'm not sure we need a flat walkway either, but that's just my personal view.
Thank you. Dave, I saw your hand go up.
I just wanted to comment. I think the walkway is enough. I'm not keen on having stuff stored up there for a number of reasons. Are they going to lay them just on the flat? Are they going to start building something to attach them? I think the first big wind and stuff starts blowing around. Again, I agree with everybody else. There's a lot of other places for that. I don't think the walkway needs to be any larger to store things. That's my idea.
Thank you, Dave.
Thank you.
Maureen?
Yes, and just to, because earlier I was just trying to figure out where this possible storage would be, and you graciously, agreed to do that, Paul. But I think what I was really looking for was to see whether it was as big as I was afraid it would be, and then I would be, probably not wanting it to be, and listening to my fellow commissioners. I think that I would be clear that my opinion now would be to have no platform up there at all. And then whether we have a walkway or not, I guess my only concern, I think there is something to keeping the people walking in a guided place, if you will. So putting some kind of walkway on the level spot, I can see making sense, but not, obviously not the platform. And I excuse me, and I would be interested in hearing from my fellow commissioners about whether they think the walkway is good, bad, or indifferent. So, thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. When you say walkway, do you mean the area in between the two sets of stairs?
Yes, I do.
Okay. I mean, I would love it if more people would be happy just walking through the sand, but I don't see it as being any more harmful than the two sets of stairs that might be going in to walk across that. That being said, we might need a condition that if sand is continuing to blow and that feature is really changing, that maybe they come in and remove part of that walkway. This area seems very, very dynamic, and I'm worried about impeding what's happening there. But that's just me.
If I may, that's very helpful to me. Yeah, because it was quite striking, that windblown sand, and I mean, it's hard not to call that a dune. I think most people would look at it that way, and impeding that natural flow, I think, would not be something we would want to do. So I appreciate what you said. Thank you.
Thank you, Maureen. Any other questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. See if there's any public comment on this one. Also no. So Paul, it sounds like you're going to provide us with a little bit more information on this one.
That is correct. So I'd ask to continue until the 7th.
Okay, perfect. So we will continue this until October 7th.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Paul. And that moves us on in the public meeting to requests for determination of applicability. That's a mouthful. We are starting with Herman at 2 Wamasquid Place, represented by Brian Madden.
Thank you very much. Brian Madden from LEC Environmental, representing the Hermans. The RDA is to confirm that no resource areas on the subject parcel and to approve a driveway stub that is located within the outer 100-foot buffer zone to bordering vegetated wetlands across Wamasquid Place. The wetland boundary you see across the street was approved through a determination of applicability issued last year. And the driveway will be pervious and relatively simple application. If you have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Brian. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? Looks like no. Jeff, has staff been out to the site, and do you have a recommendation?
Yes, we have, and we would recommend the +2 confirming the resource area boundaries, and then the -3 for the work without requiring a notice of intent in the buffer zone.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Would somebody like to make that motion?
So moved.
Also,
So I'll give Linda the motion and Mark the second. So by roll vote, Beal,
aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Garrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you. Take care.
You too. All right, that moves us on to certificates of compliance. We have Nielsen at 15 Bassett Road.
I have to recuse. That's a really old project of mine. I did it for quite some years. I have to recuse for 41B. That's a current project, Madui Creek, I did a couple years ago. So the first 3 I'm recused from.
Okay, thank you, Linda.
All right, so 15 Bassett Road was for the construction of a structure inside the 100. Some of the points on it are, to the to the GIS layer anywhere from 110 feet to 90 feet away to 80 feet. So it's pretty far away, but it's constructed in compliance, and we're recommending the issuance of that certificate of compliance.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions or comments from commissioners? And if not, is there a motion to issue the cert? Maureen, I'll give you the motion. And Dave, you want the second? Okay, so by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Fleur,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
That carries with Commissioner Williams recused. And that moves us on to 41B Cliff Road LLC at 41B Cliff Road.
Sure. This is one where the work seemingly has never taken place. It was issued in 2000. So they are seeking to invalidate that order of conditions, and that's our recommendation.
Thank you, Jeff. Mark,
So moved.
the motion, is there a second? Seconded by Maureen. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Fleur,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
All right, that carries with Commissioner Williams recused. And that moves us on to Madui 15 Capital LLC at 15 Madui Creek Road.
Yes, 15 Madui Creek Road is one we've seen a little more recently. This was 3365. This was for the installation of a new IA septic system with some fencing and reconfiguring the driveway. We've checked it out with the Board of Health, and the septic system is in compliance, and the remainder of the work is in compliance. So we're recommending that it can be issued as well.
All right, thank you. Are there any questions from commissioners on this one? If not, is there a motion to issue the cert? Motion made by Dave. Is there a second? By Ian. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Fleur,
Aye.
Phillips.
Aye.
That carries with Commissioner Williams recused. And that moves us on to Shakama 1 LLC at 36 Shakama Road.
Yep. So this one was also for the repair and upgrade of an existing septic system. Again, we've checked it off with the Board of Health and found that it's in compliance, and we're recommending it can be issued as well.
Thank you, Jeff. Are there any questions from commissioners? And if not, is there a motion to issue the cert? Motion made by Mark. Is there a second? Seconded by Linda. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
Fleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. And that moves us on to orders of conditions. I believe we just have the one for Nantucket Wales, or yeah, AC Wales N2, excuse me, LLC at 43 and 45 Squam Road.
Yes, that's the only one I sent. I wasn't sure how the other stuff would go. So just to run through this one, I have our kind of our standard pool conditions. With this one, I did have an error. I do apologize for this. I will fess up that I copied and pasted the waiver from a different one that I had written. So I would like to remove the part of it that references the 2-foot separation to groundwater, since the proposal elevated that structure, so it's no longer needed. So you would take out the, given the historic and proposed site conditions, the commission finds that the building, that whole sentence would be omitted. And then the next sentence would just start, the commission finds that the abandonment and revegetation of the existing driveway will serve to provide a long-term net benefit to the resource area. So amazingly, I had gotten the letters and stuff at the 103F3C correct. I just forgot to take out that other sentence. So I do apologize for that. But other than that, I'm open to any other suggestions or thoughts.
Thank you, Jeff. We'll forgive you this time.
It's all
He's all
right.
by himself in there.
No.
I have
Looks
Vince.
good. Looks good, Jeff.
Mhm.
Thank you, Jeff. Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I know that regrading is proposed and there was some discussion about the new footings. I'm not sure if fill needs to be added, but if so, can we add the fill conditions that I brought forward?
Yes. Let me try to grab those really quick. So we had added the condition 24 and to, it would be not condition 24, but we added a condition before that said any fill needed for the site needs to come from the site itself, or any fill brought to the site shall provide a soil test for staff to review. It shall include nutrient content, heavy metals, and VOCs at a minimum. Any invasive species found in the areas with fill shall be removed. So that would be added on as condition 24.
Thank you, Jeff.
That's a good suggestion, Seth. Thank you.
Yes, very good. We need to add that to our standards and into these regulations that'll get updated someday, hopefully soon. Any other amendments, Seth?
I'll move to issue as amended.
Is there a second?
Second.
By Mark. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
Great, that carries unanimously. Jeff, would you like any direction on, I guess we closed the Moores Realty Trust?
I think to not have to go through it all, I'll probably just go through the minutes from what Seth had suggested. He had a pretty comprehensive list, so he doesn't have to try to remember all of it or go through it. But I usually do it anyway, so I'll just pull it from there unless people had any other suggestions.
Okay, thank you, Jeff. Are there any other suggestions? Looks like no, so we'll move on. And that moves us to other business, approval of minutes from September 9th.
Madam Chairman, do we have to make a motion on that one to approve or wait for the final draft?
So we would wait for a draft for next week, so, yeah.
Yeah, I haven't been able to, I don't think I've finished. I thought I did finish and send it to you, Jeff.
Yes, you did. You finished the 99 minutes. I think Linda was talking about the order of conditions from before, Terry. But yes, the commissioners did get the 99 minutes.
All right, all right. My brain jumped forward. Sorry.
Right. You do so many minutes that I'm sure it's impossible to keep track, but you are well on pace with us.
Yes. And Terry, as always, we thank you for your amazing minutes taking. So if Seth?
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Terry. Just one small correction to the minutes on page 3.
The D here.
I have a comment about vegetation above 4 inches. I said DBH, diameter at breast height. It says deviation of 4 inches or more. Just DBH, or diameter at breast height, is what I'm talking about.
Okay, now you're trying to cover for yourself. I can tell.
That's a very standard forestry measurement.
Yeah, and
What's that?
but sometimes it's kind of mushy, and I couldn't figure it out. So, thank you. I will fix and change deviation to DBH.
Thank you, Terry. If there are no other corrections to the minutes, would somebody like to approve as amended, I guess?
So moved.
Uh,
As amended.
Ian, I think, got you, and then Maureen got the second from what I saw.
You'll have to get a luminous hand there to go with your wig, Linda.
I think I haven't gotten up to put the lights on yet, so it's getting kind of dark.
Yes. All right. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
That carries unanimously. And again, thank you, Terry, as always. And that moves us to monitoring reports. I don't think we had any at this point. So reports, we have crack.
Well, unfortunately, I came without my notes as this was an impromptu visit to this friend of mine up in Maine. So the draft memo for Baxter Road, apart from minor errors, I think that what most surprised me was an emphasis on how if the geotubes were to be removed, they assumed that the beach would get more narrow, that emergency services wouldn't be able to access it. And this went on for 4 pages. And so I commented that that was not my experience, and that in fact, the geotubes and Weimar's choir were in fact more protruded more than anything from the bluff. The implication was that the bluff would collapse and basically the beach would narrow. And so I asked them, I said I thought it weakened their report and that they should remove it. Or because it was a supposition that I didn't think was borne up by the facts. So, I mean, having said that, they've obviously put a lot of work into that report, and it's in many ways it's helpful. So I don't want to give completely the wrong impression, but that struck me as being rather odd. Thank you.
Thank you. PPC.
Yes, we've had one meeting recently in the interim, and it was an organizational meeting. We have received all the proposals for the community preservation grants or requests, totaling over $9 million, and we'll probably have around $2.5 or $3 million to give away. So we're about to start our hearings and interviews, and that's where we stand right now.
Thank you, Mark. And that moves us on to NP and EDC.
I'm sorry, I wasn't able to attend the last meeting, and so I don't have a report right now.
Thank you, Maureen. And that will move us on to commissioners' comments. So commissioners' comments. Linda?
I know we've sent around emails about the date for our joint meeting with the select board. I would really appreciate it if it was after Columbus Day weekend as opposed to the 4th. I'm going to be actually traveling, so I can't get on my computer until our meeting of the 7th. And that's before we have dinner reservations where we are, and we're way up in the middle of nowhere. It's spotty.
Okay. Thank you for that, Linda. I think we saw that chain of email, and I don't know if Jeff has any other dates he can maybe think about. Dave, do you have a kind of follow up to the scheduling there?
Yeah, I'll be gone from the 2nd to the 15th, but I'm not 100%, but I think I'll have internet capability, and I just can't lock it in 100%. But I'll do whatever I can to make sure that I can attend.
Okay.
Hey, I only get 4 days off. You get 2 weeks off. What's going on there?
Work hard for it.
Ian, do you have a scheduling comment as well?
Well, I have a question through you to Jeff, Madam Chair. Plus, I have a general comment to make. And to Jeff, I'm asking, now that SBPF has appealed our decision to remove the geotubes, what's the timeline? Since at the moment we don't have legal representation what's the timeline in terms of when we need to respond as a committee?
So the short answer to that question, Ian, is I'm not sure what that date is yet. We haven't actually received the specific summons at this point. The actual paper copy hasn't been delivered to our office that has the dates on it yet, or received a digital copy of it. But as soon as I get that, I'll definitely forward it around.
Yes, but that isn't my question. And I have a copy as it happens. It was forwarded to me. My question is, what are we going to do about legal representation to make sure that SBPF doesn't win by default?
Structure of approval, it's called, maybe?
Whatever.
That's not the way it works.
Isn't
Guys,
it-
please do not interrupt each
Linda?
other. That's what I'm going to say first.
Excuse me, don't interrupt, and please ask the chairwoman to allow you to speak. And I'm speaking to Jeff. So Jeff, isn't it normally a 30-day period?
Yeah, I'd have to read the language of it specifically. If you got a copy before me, do you want to send that to me? I'm sure I'll take a harder look and answer that around. I did, knowing that we hadn't received it yet, I have kind of reiterated our request as we were going through some of the scheduling on a different chain about the request for counsel, since it's now an actual legal proceeding. So hopefully I'll get an answer back on that again. But I've been seeking it out because I know Maureen specifically asked, and Ashley asked again today. Our letter to the select board had requested separate counsel. So I've asked outside of the scheduling if there's an update on what that is. So it's all kind of congruent. So I'll hopefully try to answer that question for you tomorrow, Ian, and have something in writing to everybody.
Thank you, because at this juncture, and especially in light of the email that you forwarded to us from Libby Gibson on September 22nd. And I'm going to read it out. Additionally, in order to be better prepared for a productive meeting, the board would like specificity with respect to the proposed agenda item as indicated in your September 9th, 2021 memo. And then she quotes from the memo, the Concom suggests a joint meeting between the Select Board and the Conservation Commission to try and establish a joint path forward, providing the best possible strategy to adapt this area to the challenges of climate change and sea level rise within our regulatory framework. So, I'm asking myself, if they're not supporting us in our regulatory framework, then why are we meeting with them? Why aren't we just hiring independent counsel?
So, Ian, thank you for that question. I think there's kind of two things going on simultaneously where, obviously we have to tackle this SBPF appeal and where we currently are, which, does require us to have independent counsel that we should be allowed to get. But we also have, our select board that I think we do need to wrap into our regulations and the bigger coastal picture. And I think that hopefully this meeting would help them understand how our regulations work as far as coastal planning. Like, to me, I don't feel like our select board members have a clear understanding of a conservation commission's jurisdiction and charter under the State Wetland Protection Act. And I think this meeting will hopefully help to clarify for them that, we have state law telling us that,
We're still meeting. Just yapping. I'm gonna start my supper.
That we have, sorry, I lost my train of thought, jurisdiction over this. And I think that the select board is muddying the waters a little bit. So my hope would be that this meeting could get us all on the same page there. Because in many places, it's very important to have a strong conservation commission because municipalities sometimes break the rules, and you have to be separate so that you can manage that. And I'm hoping that this meeting would bring us together in that regard, even if maybe we still have differing opinions on, the SBPF project and where it stands. But that's my take on the meeting with them.
Well, thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, Ian. Linda, and then I'll go to Seth.
As I've said before, I think it's vital that we have a joint meeting and air everything out. And I agree with you. They need to understand our jurisdiction. We need to understand their position. We need to have an open dialogue on this. I've said this all along. Technically, the way this works, having been through multiple lawsuits on all the other boards I've been on, town council is required to file an answer within so many days of receiving the Superior Court lawsuit. And town council is required, whether we agree with him or not, he's required to represent us at the moment for that. Generally speaking, the town isn't the one that usually fights it. It's usually the applicant's attorney. We file an appearance and onward we go. But I think George Pucci is required to file an appearance or some sort of an answer to it within so many days of receiving it. And I don't know what status that is at his office at the moment, but that's something we should ask Libby.
Thank you, Linda. What makes this even less clear, and I think unfortunate about living in a small town, is the appeal seems to have hit like the news outlets and random people, but it hasn't actually gotten to the Natural Resource Office and to us. And, that is, again, just unfortunate, and I think confuses the situation where it doesn't need to be as confusing. But hopefully that document will get where it needs to be, i.e. Jeff's office and town council, if need be, within a reasonable amount of time here. Seth, I think I saw your hand up.
Thank you, Madam Chair. As much as we've identified the need for a special independent counsel, the question actually remains unanswered as to whether we'll be afforded it. The specific provision in the town charter that references this is very detailed in when a special counsel is allowed. And without seeing the suit, we don't know if we meet the classifications for that yet, the requirements for that. So in order to meet those requirements, the select board would have to be a named party plaintiff in the lawsuit, and we would have to be a named party defendant. We know we're a named party defendant. What we don't know is the select board or the town of Nantucket a named party plaintiff? And if not, would they be considered having that status even if they're not named? If they do have that status, then the town charter is very specific into the process in which we could obtain special municipal counsel. And all it requires is a majority vote by our board to obtain that counsel. But if there is not a designation that the select board or the town is actually a party plaintiff in a lawsuit, and if SPPF is, designated as being that only party plaintiff there, then the only way we can get special municipal counsel is to request it through the town manager and the select board, like has been done before. And it remains up to them to determine if they will grant that or not. So we need to see the suit and see who the parties are before we actually know what we can and cannot do. If we don't have the requirements to meet the special municipal counsel, we would have to try to have town council defend us.
Thank you, Seth. That's really great information, so I appreciate that.
Yes, Madam Chair, it's also, Seth isn't a lawyer. with respect, Seth, and I respect your opinion always. And we've discussed this at one tangentially before. But as far as I'm concerned, if the town doesn't step up to the plate, then I will personally, pay for our lawyer. And there's absolutely no way that, as far as I'm concerned, as a member of this board, that I'm going to sit by passively if the town isn't going to defend us. And I know a lot of people feel the way I do because a number of my friends and acquaintances have offered to chip in and then let the town sue us for hiring a lawyer to defend our regulations.
So I do worry about getting too far down the hypothetical with this. But let's wait, let's see what the appeal says, and then we can go from there with what we're allowed to do, because I know the language Seth was reading, I think, is pretty clear in our town manager charter. So we are a little bit constrained by that, but we will see what the appeal says. Maureen and then Linda. And
If
then,
I may just, I'm pretty sure that, like anything else, that we could challenge that if necessary in court. Thank you.
thank you, Ian. So I'm going to go to Seth so he can reply because he just spoke. And then Maureen's hand has been up for a while, and Linda, I've seen yours. So Seth, would you like to reply? And then I'll go to Maureen and Linda.
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. That's just what the charter and the regulations say. I don't think it's wise or fruitful at this time to discuss hypotheticals. Those are the requirements that we know of right now. Anything that comes later will have to be done after the summons is read and looked over.
Thank you, Seth. Maureen?
Obviously I'm no longer a practicing lawyer, but this is I believe, as we would say, this is a case to first impression. I've done some research trying to determine when a municipality has refused to support one of the duly appointed commissions within that municipality, and where other actions have been taken by the municipality, the select board in this case, which have made our position more difficult in various points here. So the fact that there is a technically strict way for us to automatically get counsel, that is, in my view, neither here nor there. It is, I do think we are going to need our own counsel, and so we just need to be prepared to do what we need to do for that. The other thing with Libby's request, and I was trying to figure that out from a negotiation point of view. And so I would have thought our position is pretty clear and what we think about all of this, given the letters we've written and the meetings we've had. And Libby wants us to lay out our position once again. And so, and while I think it might be useful to educate them, because the quote from Dawn that was on the front page of the Inky a couple of weeks ago, where she said, isn't the first thing that you have to show that you helped them comply or whatever it was? Well, that's not the first thing. And so since we know that they don't understand how this process goes. What? Did someone say something?
We seem to be getting feedback a little bit. So can everybody who's not speaking mute? Because I think that's what's happening.
Oh, okay. Anyway, so I think that's very important to do. But I think it's also important for us to, provide that information. We'd like to, educate you all about how this all operates. And then have the meeting. I at this point, I'm not sure what the meeting would accomplish other than us continuing to take the high road. And I'm willing to do it, but I think the issue of council is one that I would, the technical requirement of the town charter is, has nothing to do with this particular factual situation and what has happened before now and the actions, prior actions of the select board and statements and everything else. So I just want to be clear with people that is, it's one way to get counsel, but if we can't get counsel that way, I think it's certainly a good, would be a valid procedure to take whatever action we needed to in order to get counsel. But I think us getting counsel is something we will have to do no matter what. So, thank you.
Yes, thank you, Maureen. And I think, as Jeff said, he's trying to ask the select board and Libby again whether they're considering allowing us counsel. So I think that'll probably be happening simultaneously as we're trying to get this meeting scheduled, would be my feeling. If they're going to wait until, possibly a date after Columbus Day to say we're allowed counsel, I would think that would be inappropriate at this point. But again, we will have to see what their reply is. Linda, your hand was up.
Yeah, just for jollies, I wrote that section and fought for that section to be in the charter when I was on the charter committee, 25 years ago. But I think we should probably stop discussing this, because what we're discussing is not pending litigation. We are discussing litigation, and that generally is an executive session. So I think we need to move on from this discussion. I've done it a million times, but that's my opinion.
Okay, so I do kind of agree this is not a discussion item on tonight, so I worry about making this a full discussion. But I think, commissioners, you've been heard. We're trying to see where we are in getting counsel, and the appeal just came out. I think it was last Wednesday. Maybe I'm getting my days confused, but we're trying to work as quickly as we can.
And Jeff just sent it to us on our emails just now.
Okay. Thank you. So any other commissioners' comments?
Another well-run meeting, Madam Chairman.
Well, thank you, Linda. All right, if not, we'll go to Jeff with administrator staff reports.
So just a couple of things. I just want to clarify that the date on that appeal starts, I haven't read through the whole thing, obviously, but it's from September 21st. So it's 2 days old. So
and they usually have
so that's the date that's there. So I'll sort through it, but I'll try to give everyone an update tomorrow on it, just to go through. I do have a couple things tonight. Just one quick update on the enforcement we issued last time from Bassett Road. Art's been on that site and located everything and kind of documented anything, and is putting together the plan and some information for us to review. So that'll be in front of us at the next meeting. Our next meeting is going to be kind of long because we had a gajillion new applications come in. So get some snacks. That being said, just one more tonight that came up late today and yesterday a little bit. We were contacted by, I think Jeff Blackwell's here. I think he's the mysterious iPhone.
Yes.
I'm going to share a screen and just run through, and Jeff can add to it. There's a structure out on 21 Sheep Pond Road, whose existing well is now below the top of the coastal bank. And the well that services the house is having some significant issues with saltwater intrusion and doesn't really have potable water coming into the house. So they're requesting an emergency permit to install a well. Let me put the plan up. And can everyone see that?
Yes, we
All
can.
right, I'll assume that's a yes. So as you can see, here's where I just highlighted is where the existing well is. Here's the top of bank from today. is the dotted line here. And they're looking to install a new well under the emergency just to get water servicing the house again, just inside that 50-foot setback. And then they'll be back in front of us with a regular permit application here within the next filing deadline. But they're looking to kind of proceed to the Board of Health. I know they've already filed for their well permit from them, but to get a well on site. So I said I would bring it in front of you guys, and if you guys want to authorize that as an emergency, we can go from there. If not, they have to file a regular filing. So if Jeff wants to add anything, I think now would be a good time. But other than that, that's it for me.
Jeff, do you have anything to add?
No, that sums it up, Madam Chair. Basically these folks don't have any drinkable water. They can't even use their washing machine because the salt will corrode the works of the machine. So in the world of Conservation Commission emergencies, this seems to be perhaps the first one I've ever been involved with.
Thank you, Jeff. I feel like this site probably needs planning to eventually remove everything just based on where it's sitting.
So sorry, if I can interrupt for a second, Madam Chair. So this is a site that a few years ago, the house used to sit about where my mouse is now.
Yep.
And they've retreated it back as far as they can and got relief from the town to put their septic in part of the house within the roadway layout that's there. The section of Sheep Pond Road that washed away a couple years ago is kind of further down this way, kind of where the site benchmark is. So they've moved it before. So I think they realize probably better than most that they're on a time scale that is much shorter than what a lot of other residences are. So I think they've been working towards it, but I'm not sure if they have any further developments in relocation.
All right. Thank you, Jeff and Jeff. Linda, seeing your hand pop up, do you have a question or comment?
Yeah, through you, Madam Chairman. Jeff, this is Fraza's house, isn't it?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, and I, years ago for the ZBA, I documented how much had been lost. They've lost a couple 100 feet. They were at one point looking for another piece of property. They're surrounded kind of by conservation, and nobody was willing to give them a lot to move the house to. I was involved with that discussion at one point. So I think you're right. It's ground zero now. It can't go any further. But I don't have a problem with giving them a new well so they can at least get, I don't think it's going to be there next winter, but I think we can give them at least another 9 months in here.
Yeah. Thank you, Linda, for that perspective. Any other commissioners' comments or questions about this one? Looks like no. So if there are no questions or comments, would somebody like to make a motion to issue the emergency? Linda?
I'll make that motion.
Okay, is there a second? Seconded by Dave. So by roll vote, Beal,
Aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
William.
Aye.
Right, that carries unanimously.
Thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.
And that's it for me as well.
Okay.
Cool.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make
Sure.
that motion.
All right, I'll give the motion to Linda, the second to Maureen. So by roll vote, Beal,
Yeah, aye.
Engelborg,
Aye.
Harrisman, I, Golding,
Aye.
LaFleur,
Aye.
Phillips,
Aye.
Williams.
Aye.
All right, this meeting is adjourned.
I'm gonna have to